In the far reaches of the Andromeda Galaxy, there existed a planet named Zephyria, home to a race of highly advanced and peaceful aliens known as the Zephyrians. They had lived in harmony for millennia, their civilization flourishing with technology and culture. But hidden beneath the surface of this idyllic world was a secret so dark that it threatened the very fabric of their existence. One of the Zephyrians, a brilliant scientist named Dr. Leora, had been conducting experiments in an attempt to understand the mysteries of the universe. She stumbled upon a strange, glowing crystal buried deep within the core of Zephyria. Fascinated by its potential, she brought it back to her laboratory for further study. Little did she know, this crystal was the key to an ancient evil that had been sealed away for eons. As Dr. Leora began her experiments, the crystal began to emit a pulsating energy that seemed to resonate with the very core of her being. Unbeknownst to her, the crystal was awakening a malevolent entity known as Zargol, a psycho-alien of unimaginable power and cruelty. Zargol had been imprisoned within the crystal by an ancient race known as the Elders, who had foreseen the devastation he would bring to the galaxy. As the energy from the crystal grew stronger, Zargol began to take control of Dr. Leora's mind, warping her thoughts and bending her will to his own. She became a puppet to his dark desires, and under his influence, she unleashed a wave of destruction upon Zephyria. The once peaceful planet was plunged into chaos as Zargol's power spread like a virus, turning the inhabitants into mindless slaves bent on annihilation. With each passing day, Zargol's influence grew stronger, and soon he was able to manifest himself fully in the physical realm. His appearance was terrifying. A towering figure with eyes that burned like molten lava, his skin a sickly shade of green, covered in pulsating veins of dark energy. His presence alone was enough to drive even the strongest minds to madness. As Zargol's reign of terror spread across Zephyria, a small group of survivors banded together in a desperate bid to stop him. Led by a courageous warrior named Kale, they formed a resistance movement determined to find a way to defeat the psycho-alien and save their planet from total annihilation. Kale was a skilled fighter with a heart full of hope, but even he could not foresee the horrors that lay ahead. The resistance fought bravely, but Zargol's power was overwhelming. He reveled in the destruction, his laughter echoing through the ruins of Zephyria as he slaughtered his enemies with ease. He seemed invincible, and as the bodies of the fallen piled up, despair began to take hold of the resistance. They knew that time was running out, and that unless they found a way to stop Zargol, their world would be lost forever. In a last-ditch effort, Kale and his team infiltrated Dr. Leora's laboratory, hoping to find a way to reverse the effects of the crystal and banish Zargol back to the void from which he came. What they discovered was beyond their worst nightmares. The laboratory was a macabre scene of twisted experiments and horrific mutations, the results of Zargol's sadistic curiosity. Among the chaos, they found Dr. Leora, her mind shattered and her body barely recognizable. With her last ounce of strength, Dr. Leora managed to convey the secret of the crystal to Kale. She revealed that the only way to defeat Zargol was to destroy the crystal, but doing so would require an immense amount of energy, enough to obliterate everything within a 1,000-mile radius. It was a suicide mission, but it was their only hope. Determined to save his people, Kale led the resistance in a final assault on Zargol's stronghold. The battle was fierce, with both sides suffering heavy losses. But Kale fought with a determination born of desperation, and at last, he reached the crystal. With a primal scream, he unleashed all his energy in a single, devastating blow, shattering the crystal into 1,000,000 pieces. As the crystal shattered, Zargol let out a howl of rage and pain, his form dissolving into a cloud of dark energy that was quickly sucked back into the void. The explosion that followed was cataclysmic, reducing Zargol's stronghold to rubble and wiping out everything in its vicinity. Kale and his comrades were lost in the blast, their sacrifice ensuring the survival of their world. In the aftermath of the explosion, the few remaining survivors of Zephyria emerged from the ruins, dazed and grieving but free from Zargol's influence. They vowed to rebuild their civilization and to never forget the sacrifice of those who had given their lives to defeat the psycho-alien. But deep in the shadows, the remnants of Zargol's dark energy lingered. a chilling reminder that true evil never truly dies. Years passed, and the memory of Zarjoel's reign of terror began to fade into legend. Zephyria slowly rebuilt, its people striving to create a better future. But far across the galaxy, in the desolate wastelands of a forgotten planet, Zarjoel's essence began to reform. He was weaker than before, but his hatred burned brighter than ever, fueling his desire for revenge. Zargioel knew that he needed to gather his strength before he could launch another assault on Zephyria. He began to travel from planet to planet, infiltrating alien civilizations and spreading his malevolent influence. With each new world he conquered, his power grew, and the number of his followers swelled. He became a master of disguise, able to blend in with any species and manipulate them to his will. On the planet Aloran, a thriving hub of trade and culture, Zargioel assumed the identity of a charismatic leader named Terran. Under this guise, he quickly rose to power, using his charm and cunning to gain the trust of the Iloranian people. But behind the facade, he was orchestrating a campaign of fear and oppression, turning the once peaceful planet into a dystopian nightmare. As Terran, Zargioel established a secret police force known as the Shadows, tasked with rooting out dissent and silencing any opposition to his rule. He employed advanced technology to monitor and control the populace, creating an atmosphere of paranoia and mistrust. Anyone who dared to speak out against him was swiftly dealt with, their fate a grim reminder to others of the consequences of defiance. Among the oppressed citizens of Aloran was a young engineer named Lyra. She had seen firsthand the horrors of Terran's regime, and she longed for the days when her planet was free. Lyra had heard whispers of a resistance movement, but she knew that joining them would be incredibly dangerous. Yet, her desire for justice outweighed her fear, and she began to seek out the resistance in secret. Lyra's search led her to a hidden network of rebels who were determined to overthrow Terran and restore peace to Aloran. They welcomed her into their ranks, and she quickly proved herself to be a valuable asset, using her technical skills to hack into the Shadow's communication systems and gather vital intelligence. With each successful mission, the resistance grew bolder, their hope rekindled by Lyra's courage and ingenuity. Unbeknownst to Lyra and the resistance, Zarjoel had become aware of their activities. He was impressed by their determination but saw them as little more than a nuisance. However, he decided to let them continue their efforts, using them as a means to weed out those who opposed him. He played a twisted game, feeding them false information and setting traps that led to their capture and execution. Despite the setbacks, Lyra and the resistance refused to give up. They devised a daring plan to infiltrate Terran's palace and expose his true identity to the world. They knew that the only way to defeat him was to reveal the monster lurking beneath the mask. It was a risky mission, but they believed it was their only chance to save Aloran. The night of the infiltration, the resistance moved with precision and stealth, bypassing the Shadow's defenses and making their way into the heart of the palace. As they reached Terran's chambers, they were confronted by a horrifying sight. Zardoel stood before them, his true form revealed in all its monstrous glory. His eyes burned with fury as he unleashed his dark energy, tearing through the resistance fighters with ease. Lyra fought with all her might, but she was no match for Zardoel's power. As she lay on the floor, battered and broken, she managed to activate a hidden device that broadcasted the truth about Terran to the entire planet. The people of Aloran watched in horror as the truth was revealed, and the tide began to turn against Zardoel. Enraged, Zardoel fled the palace, knowing that his time on Aloran was over. He vowed to return stronger than ever and to crush any who stood in his way. As the people of Aloran began to rise up against the Shadows, Lyra was hailed as a hero, her sacrifice igniting a revolution that would eventually lead to the liberation of her planet. But Zargioel was far from defeated. He continued his journey through the galaxy, leaving a trail of devastation in his wake. Each new world he conquered added to his power, and with every victory, his hatred for the Zephyrians grew. He knew that one day he would return to Zephyria, and when he did, he would make them pay for what they had done to him. As Zargioel's dark influence spread throughout the galaxy, his power grew exponentially. He became a being of pure malevolence, his very essence a black hole of hatred and destruction. Worlds fell under his sway. Their populations transformed into mindless thralls who worshipped him as a god. His name became synonymous with fear, and legends of his atrocities spread far and wide. On the distant planet of the Loria, a beacon of hope emerged amidst the darkness. The Loria was home to a race of warrior scholars known as the Thalorians, who possessed both incredible physical prowess and vast knowledge of ancient technologies. They had managed to resist Zarjoel's influence, their planet protected by a powerful energy shield that thwarted his attempts to breach it. Zarjoel saw the Loria as a challenge, a test of his ultimate power. He knew that if he could conquer the Loria, no force in the galaxy would be able to stand against him. He began to devise a plan, one that would require all of his cunning and ruthlessness. He would infiltrate the Loria from within, corrupting it from the inside out. Disguised as a fallen Thalorian warrior, Zarjoel infiltrated the planet's defenses and ingratiated himself with the ruling council. His knowledge of Thalorian culture and technology allowed him to quickly gain their trust, and he was appointed as an advisor to the council. But behind his facade of loyalty, he was sowing the seeds of discord and chaos. Zarjoel began to manipulate the Thalorians, turning them against each other and exploiting their fears and insecurities. He spread rumors and lies, creating divisions within the once united society. He sabotaged their defenses, weakening their energy shield and leaving them vulnerable to attack. All the while, he maintained his guise of a loyal advisor, watching with satisfaction as the Loria descended into turmoil. Among the Thalorians, a young warrior named Eric began to suspect that something was amiss. Eric was a skilled fighter and a brilliant strategist, known for his unwavering dedication to his people. He noticed the subtle changes in Thalorian society, the growing mistrust and paranoia, and he began to investigate the source of the unrest. Eric's investigation led him to Zarjoel, whom he confronted in a secluded chamber of the council's fortress. Zarjoel, sensing the threat, revealed his true form and attacked with a ferocity that caught Eric off guard. The battle was fierce, with Zarjoel's dark energy clashing against Eric's pure determination. Despite his strength, Eric was overwhelmed by Zarjoel's power and left for dead. Believing Eric to be defeated, Zarjoel continued his plan to destroy the Loria. He orchestrated a coup, using his influence to turn the council against each other and seize control of the planet. As chaos erupted, Zarjoel's true nature was revealed to the Thalorian people, and they realized too late that they had been betrayed by the very being they had trusted. But Eric was not dead. He had survived the encounter with Zarjoel, his body and spirit tempered by the experience. With the help of a small group of loyal allies, he began to rally the Thalorian resistance. They launched a series of guerrilla attacks against Zarjoel's forces, striking from the shadows and reclaiming territory bit by bit. As the resistance grew stronger, Eric devised a plan to destroy Zarjoel once and for all. He had discovered an ancient Thalorian artifact known as the Heart of Light, a powerful relic capable of channeling the combined energy of the Thalorian people. With the Heart of Light, they could potentially banish Zarjoel back to the void from which he came. In a daring assault on Zarjoel's stronghold, Eric and his allies fought their way through legions of thralls and dark constructs. The final confrontation took place in the heart of the fortress, where Zarjoel awaited them with a malevolent grin. The battle was unlike anything they had faced before, a titanic clash of light and darkness. As the Thalorian forces were pushed to their limits, Eric activated the Heart of Light, channeling its immense power into a single, focused beam. Zarjoel screamed in fury as the light pierced his form, tearing at his very essence. In a final, desperate act, he unleashed all of his dark energy, creating a cataclysmic explosion that threatened to consume them all. The explosion shook the very foundations of the Loria, but when the dust settled, Zarjoel was gone. The Heart of Light had done its job, banishing the psycho-alien back to the void. The Thalorians emerged victorious, their planet saved by the bravery and sacrifice of Eric and his comrades. They vowed to rebuild and to remain ever vigilant against the return of such darkness. But even as they celebrated their victory, a shadow loomed over the galaxy. Zarjoel's essence lingered in the void, his hatred undiminished. He would return, stronger than ever, and when he did, he would bring the full fury of his wrath upon the galaxy. The Thalorians knew that their battle was far from over, and that the true test of their strength and unity was yet to come. Years passed, and the galaxy entered a period of uneasy peace. The memory of Zargioel's atrocities became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the darkness that lurked beyond the stars. But on the planet of Alicia, a remote and isolated world, a new threat was emerging. Alicia was a haven for refugees and outcasts, a place where those who had fled Zargioel's wrath sought solace and safety. Unbeknownst to the inhabitants of Alicia, Zargioel had found a way to return. Using the remnants of his dark energy, he began to rebuild his physical form, drawing strength from the fear and suffering of those around him. He was weaker than before, but his cunning and malice had only grown. He knew that if he could conquer Alicia, he would have a new base from which to launch his campaign of terror. As Zargioel's influence spread across Alicia, the planet's leaders struggled to understand the source of the new darkness. They turned to an ancient order of mystics known as the Sentinels, who had long guarded the secrets of the universe. The Sentinels sensed the presence of Zargioel and warned the Elysians of the impending danger. Among the Sentinels was a young seer named Alara, who possessed the rare ability to see into the future. Alara had visions of Zargioel's return and the devastation he would bring. She knew that she had to act quickly if they were to have any hope of stopping him. Guided by her visions, she set out on a journey to find the one person who could help them, Eric of the Loria. Alara's journey was fraught with danger, but she was determined to reach the Loria and enlist Eric's aid. When she arrived, she found a world still recovering from the scars of Zargioel's previous assault. Eric had become a symbol of hope and resilience, leading his people in their efforts to rebuild. When Alara told him of her visions, he knew that he could not ignore the threat. Eric gathered a team of Thalorian warriors and mystics, and together with Alara, they traveled to Alicia. They were greeted with skepticism and fear, but as Zargioel's influence became more apparent, the Elysians realized that they had no choice but to trust these strangers. They formed an alliance, combining their knowledge and resources in a desperate bid to stop Zargioel. Zargioel, sensing the growing resistance, decided to strike first. He unleashed his dark energy upon Alicia, corrupting its inhabitants and turning them into his thralls. The once peaceful planet was thrown into chaos, and the Alliance found themselves fighting a losing battle against an enemy that seemed unstoppable. Alara's visions guided them to a hidden temple deep within Alicia's wilderness, where they discovered an ancient artifact known as the Eye of Eternity. The Eye had the power to amplify the energy of those who wielded it, and they hoped that it would be enough to banish Zargioel once and for all. But using the Eye came with a great risk, as it required a sacrifice of immense personal energy. As the final battle approached, Eric and Alara prepared to face Zargioel. They knew that this would be their last chance to stop him, and they were willing to give everything to protect the galaxy. The battle was fierce and brutal, with Zargioel unleashing his full power in an attempt to crush his enemies. But Eric and Alara fought with a determination that matched his malice. With the Eye of Eternity in hand, Alara channeled her energy into a powerful beam of light that struck Zargioel, weakening him and forcing him to retreat. Eric seized the opportunity, delivering a devastating blow that shattered Zargioel's physical form. As Zargioel's essence began to dissipate, Alara used the last of her strength to activate the Eye, creating a portal that would banish him to the void once and for all. Zargioel let out a final, furious scream as he was pulled into the portal, his essence scattered across the cosmos. The battle was won, but the cost was high. Alara had sacrificed herself to save the galaxy, and Eric mourned the loss of his brave comrade. The Elysians and Thalorians vowed to honor her memory by continuing to fight against the darkness. As peace returned to Alicia, Eric and his team departed, knowing that their work was far from over. They had defeated Zargioel for now, but they knew that true evil could never be completely vanquished. They remained ever vigilant, ready to face whatever new threats emerged from the shadows. The galaxy entered a new era of vigilance and unity, with the memory of Zargioel's reign serving as a stark reminder of the dangers that lurked in the cosmos. The Thalorians, Elysians, and other allied worlds formed a coalition dedicated to maintaining peace and defending against any future threats. They established a network of outposts and sentinels, always on the lookout for signs of Zargol's return or other dark forces. Eric became a revered figure, his leadership and bravery inspiring countless others to join the cause. He continued to lead missions across the galaxy, rooting out remnants of Zargol's influence and aiding worlds in their recovery. But despite the victories, he could never shake the feeling that the darkness was not truly gone. On a distant world known as Zarin, a team of explorers discovered a hidden temple containing ancient texts and artifacts that spoke of an even greater evil than Zargol. The texts referred to a being known as the Void Emperor, a cosmic entity of unimaginable power that had been sealed away by the Elders eons ago. The explorers realized that Zargol had been but a harbinger of this greater threat. Word of the discovery reached Eric, who knew that they could not afford to ignore the warnings. He assembled a team of the galaxy's finest warriors, scholars, and mystics, and together they set out to uncover the truth about the Void Emperor. Their journey took them to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, through treacherous space and hostile territories. Along the way, they encountered remnants of Zargol's followers, still loyal to their fallen master and determined to carry on his legacy. These encounters tested the limits of their resolve and unity, but they emerged stronger with each victory. They also found allies in unexpected places, other beings who had suffered under Zargol's tyranny and were eager to join the fight against the Void Emperor. Their quest led them to the lost world of Etheria, where they discovered the final resting place of the Elders. There, they found the means to unlock the secrets of the Void Emperor and the key to defeating him. The Elders had left behind a powerful artifact known as the Celestial Heart, capable of harnessing the energy of the entire galaxy to seal away the Void Emperor forever. But using the Celestial Heart would require a united galaxy and a sacrifice of immense proportions. Eric and his team knew that they had to rally the galaxy's civilizations, uniting them in a common cause against the ultimate darkness. They traveled from world to world, spreading the message and gathering support for the final battle. As the coalition assembled, the Void Emperor began to stir, sensing the gathering of his enemies. His influence spread across the galaxy, corrupting worlds and turning entire civilizations to his will. The final battle loomed on the horizon, a confrontation that would determine the fate of the galaxy. In the heart of the galaxy, at the convergence of the celestial energies, the coalition made their stand. Eric, wielding the Celestial Heart, led the charge against the Void Emperor and his legions of darkness. The battle was epic in scale, with starships clashing in the void and warriors fighting on the surface of shattered worlds. As the Void Emperor unleashed his full power, the coalition fought with everything they had. Eric and his team pushed forward, their determination and unity a beacon of hope in the darkness. With the Celestial Heart, they channeled the combined energy of the galaxy into a single, devastating strike. The Void Emperor roared in fury as the energy enveloped him, tearing at his essence and sealing him away once more. The battle was won, but the cost was great. Many had fallen, and the galaxy was forever changed by the conflict. But they had succeeded in their mission, and the Void Emperor was no longer a threat. In the aftermath of the battle, the coalition vowed to remain united, to protect the galaxy from any future threats, and to honor the sacrifices of those who had given their lives. Eric, now a legendary figure, continued to lead the efforts to rebuild and to ensure that the darkness would never return. The galaxy entered a new era of peace and prosperity, but they knew that they must always remain vigilant. The story of Zargol and the Void Emperor became a cautionary tale, a reminder that true evil could never be completely vanquished, only contained. And so, they watched and waited, ever ready to defend against the darkness. Eric stood on the bridge of his starship, gazing out at the stars. He knew that their victory had come at a great cost, but he also knew that they had forged a new path for the galaxy. As long as they remained united and vigilant, they could face any challenge that came their way. The fight against darkness was eternal, but so was their resolve. And in that, there was hope.